Hi, everybody. Welcome to the QB School. I am JT O'Sullivan. Today, the 2025 NFL Draft quarterback school list locked in, fired up, sort of. Let's dive into it. Welcome to the QB School. So before we dive into the video, a quick reminder about the Quarterback School Patreon community. This group is the foundation, the bedrock of the channel. Not only is it a great, inexpensive way to support the channel, but you get even more Quarterback School content. Specifically, if you are here for the quarterback film analysis with the college stuff, it is almost all exclusively over at the Quarterback School Patreon community. Hop over there, join, become a member. I really, really appreciate your support. Now, as for this video, I'm going to try to navigate around kind of the boring hedges that I feel like I put on this video every single year. There's really no good way to explain it or make sense of it, especially if you are coming back to this video years later trying to get me with a gotcha moment about why I ranked your favorite quarterback, who's now on a Hall of Fame trajectory, as the 7th guy of this round or this draft. The reality is that this list is massively incomplete. Okay, this is created from really two perspectives. One, just the college football analysis. I try really hard to do that. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes I see these guys throw out Elite 11, but almost always just from the college football all 22 film. And I try to share the film that I analyze in full, meaning full games, not cherry-picked highlights, over at the Quarterback School Patreon community. So if you want to see how the sausage is made, hop over there, watch the full games, have a better understanding of it. From there, this list is also not a mock draft. I'm not telling you, oh, this guy's going first, this guy's going second, this guy's going to your team's passing on a quarterback. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't pretend to be an expert or know anything about that stuff. All I'm talking about with this draft order is off the college football film, where I would draft these guys if I was picking a quarterback in this draft. That's it. Okay, so only off the film, only what I would do, me. Okay, that's it. So you got to kind of hold those thoughts as we talk about this list, and I'll try to explain the decisions as we go through them, but I think it's important to understand, not a mock draft, not trying to say what team fits what scheme, don't care. Okay, this is just film, what I would do based off just the film. So significantly incomplete compared to what an NFL team would do as far as in-person interviews, talking, research, all those types of things, medicals, all those types of things behind it. Okay, so starting from there, let's just get the list out of the way. For the people who don't want to watch the whole video, you can just be out of here. Probably somebody already is going to put it in the comments. But the list this year: Cam Ward 1, Shedeur Sanders 2, Jaylen Milroe 3, Quinn Ewers 4, Jackson Dart 5, 6, Dylan Gabriel 7, Will Howard 8, Tyler Shuck. All right, now really I only got through 8. So those are the only 8 that I'm talking about. If your favorite quarterback is not in those top 8, doesn't mean that I wouldn't have inserted him somewhere higher. I just didn't get to the film. That's the reality of it. All right, now let's try to make sense of this. Let me talk about the list in general and the class in general. I think Shedeur Sanders hijacks a lot of the attention in this list, rightfully so. Understanding that his dad is the coach, his dad is one of the greatest football players of all time, and one of the most athletic athletes, played multiple sports all time. He's got a huge personality. That part of it has certainly, at least for me, hijacked a little bit of this experience, because unlike everyone else on this list, I did not watch every single game of these guys, and I certainly didn't share every single game. I did watch and share every game from Colorado this year, just because I was fascinated. Like, I wasn't seeing on the film things that I thought would be tethered to someone who was kind of projected to go so high in the draft. That being said, I think that there are a lot of things that when I get to Shedeur to talk about that makes sense. I tried everything I could to move him down. That's the way that I kind of, as I got into more and more of the film and saw more and more of the projected players being drafted, I was looking for reasons to move him down because the film wasn't making sense to me that he should be a top, 1 overall pick or even a top 10 pick. It just wasn't making sense to me. Then going back and seeing where everyone else in this class is, I don't think you can deny the fact that Shedeur Sanders is a polished prospect, meaning that he is very fundamental. I think you can tell he's been coached well and at a high level for a long time. I think he plays extremely intelligent. He's an intelligent football player, makes smart decisions the vast majority of the time, is in a situation to kind of, I don't want to say stat pad or project himself, but anytime your dad is your coach and responsible for bringing in talent around you, you have to acknowledge they had the best football player in the country on their team. He's got unbelievable ball skills. They also had a handful of other NFL wide receivers. The rest of that scheme, though, is a dumpster fire. Straight up, it is. I've shared my notes on it. If you're that interested, you can go back and find them. So it's hard to kind of pierce away, hey, is it going to look different when we're not throwing to the best player on the field? Is it going to look different when we have a line who can block a stunt? Is it going to look different when we have a run game, when we have a tight end, when we aren't running just Y cross or just perimeter screens? Probably it is. I don't think he's as dynamic of an athlete as he thinks he is or as people would assume that he is. I think he's strong. I think he's really good at the line of scrimmage, short, even intermediate-ish throws where he can see it, throw it, think like Y cross-ish concepts. But from there, it's a limited sphere of some fade balls, and we're not seeing a lot of what I would consider dynamic top 10, round 1 for sure, cannon arm talent. And that's that I feel like that's a very fair description of the film. So that's kind of where I'm at with that, with Shedeur Sanders, and kind of he was the main story, or he feels like he still is the main story in this, and rightfully so. But I'm telling you, watching the films, because I didn't love the fact that there was this kind of like ceiling on the arm talent, that it didn't make sense for me to say, oh, he's for sure going to be, taken off the board at number 2. And it seems like that's probably not the consensus across going into this draft. That doesn't mean he won't. That doesn't mean that he won't be the best player in this draft if he continues to get better and all those things. And you can cite a bunch of guys who have become better throwers as pros. But the reality is the college film is very polished, but it's limited in some of the throws. Again, you got to make sense. Is it him or is it the scheme? Is it both? Now, let me go into a little bit of detail about why I think that is, because it's a nice transition into Cam Ward. Shedeur is a very polished, what I would consider, pause for coffee, what I would consider a traditional thrower, meaning a little bit more over the top. 2 hands on the ball in the pocket, smooth, fluid. But when he goes to rip it, as opposed to Cam Ward is the ultimate rotational guy. Everything, in almost 3/4-ish, everything can be done in a tight phone booth. Shedeur, for me, everything kind of goes up as he tries to accelerate. So it looks like when he tries to rip it, he loses a lot of energy up as opposed to rotationally at his target. That's just me. Yeah, all I did was watch every single film, but from an all 22 perspective. Now, the crazy thing is they both have the same trainer. So they're hearing a lot of the same stuff. And I'm not saying Shedeur doesn't have some rotational capacity. He certainly does. But when he looks to rip it, the difference for me sometimes with guys who are so over the top is they feel like everything is up, as opposed to guys who are a little bit more 3/4. And this is coming from a guy who threw 3/4 changeups. Okay, so maybe a little bias. It's easier to be rotational here as it is to be rotational here. That's it. Okay, that's just it's not a hot take. It's just the film. And so that limits a little bit of the fastball, a little bit of the drive throws down the field. Will it be an issue in the league? We're all going to find out together. Cam Ward, kind of the opposite as far as arm talent. In my opinion, by far the most dynamic arm talent in this draft, and probably why he'll be the first pick overall. He rips it. Rips seams, rips outside the numbers, rips deep hole shots, rips beelines, has huge comeback wins, just a dynamic thrower of the ball. He's got all sorts of arm slots. He can do the RPO. He's got the quick games. He's got great hands. All those things kind of jump off the film. Now, is it perfect film? No, it's not. I'm sure my focusing here. It's not. There are some bizarro interceptions, decisions, almost every game. Some weird throwbacks across the field that turn into disaster plays. I think of it as kind of hero-ish ball. It's one of those things where as you graduate to Sunday football, hopefully those things come down, and just the quality and the consistency that's certainly there from the majority of it becomes the standard. And it's one of those things where I don't think you want to take it completely out of his game, because he can extend and make crazy dynamic plays, but it's the forced ones. And it's really back across the field. It's kind of like bloody or a muddy, blurry throws back across the field that you just don't have to do. And so those are the things that I think are the things that we'll look for Cam Ward being able to overcome, as he probably has to play really quickly for a team that's picking first in the draft, which is usually a tough spot to be in. But the arm talent, it's unquestionable in my opinion on the film. And it's just one of those things that's refreshing to watch, because as you go really immediately lower on this list, the arm talent fades really quickly compared to what Cam Ward shows damn near at every spot. He's productive everywhere he goes. And it's one of those things where it's almost like you're agnostic to the offense. Like you could drop him in any offense and he's just going to be Cam Ward. Now, the other thing that I think I got to mention is, part of it is he looks so calm sometimes that it almost looks nonchalant, like he's chill out there, like he's jogging out of bounds, like he's very kind of lackadaisical in the pocket. Those things to me will probably not be able to happen as frequently in the league as they are in his college film. He's going to have to learn to play on time a little bit more. And it's one of those things where it's, I don't think it's necessarily a huge concern. I think it's one of those things that you got to lean into as you get into the league, because windows are tighter, the game is faster. There's a little bit more premium on timing, but it doesn't mean that he still won't be able to do the things that got him drafted 1 overall. So that's kind of the top 2 guys, the main 2 stories for me. From here, I've changed in my mind this list so many different times for so many different reasons. But again, I'm just going to lean into me being as kind of authentic as I can with this list, saying if Cam and Shedeur were off the board, and I was going to draft a quarterback at some point in this draft, who would I get just based off the film? Okay, just based off the film, for me, that's Jaylen Milroe. That doesn't mean that Jaylen Milroe is my favorite passer, is accurate enough right now, but that does mean that he is a dynamic chunk creator. That dude creates chunks. He's a walking big play. He can rip the ball 60 yards down the field. There's a lot of things that I think I would be excited to see improve as he gets an opportunity in the league to play. Is that a slam dunk that he's going to be a dude and walk out there and be a long-time NFL starter? Hell no. It's just not. But I think that there's a lot to be excited about on his film. I also think that there's a lot of concerns. That offense at Alabama looked very un-Alabama-ish. I know there's a new staff, but it looked simple. It looked like there were training wheels on there. Now, is that because of the staff? Is that because of Milroe? Is that because of his lack of ability to do some of the things that I would want to see in a more NFL drop-back game? There's just not a lot of drop-back in that offense. There's a lot of creative kind of spread quarterback runs, unique ways to create chunk opportunities with play action down the field, but there's not a lot of Sunday throws. And one of those things where eventually you're going to have to make NFL throws to be an NFL quarterback. It's great to be able to run around and be one of the best athletes on the field, but it feels like most guys eventually will have to make those throws consistently. And Jaylen's going to have to improve his accuracy, his timing, all those things in the drop back game to be able to survive and thrive in a long time in the league. But all the other stuff is pretty damn exciting if you're going to take a quarterback. So that's kind of the Jaylen Milroe thought process for me at 3. And again, if it feels like I'm reaching, I am. I think you could make the argument for all these guys to kind of fall into that 3 bucket. The one that I probably wanted to push up the most is next, Quinn Ewers. Quinn for me is one of those ones where there are some things on film over the course of his college career that are outstanding, in my opinion, that are top 10, maybe overall one type snaps, throws, anticipation throws, outside the numbers, driving the ball down the field. There are some big play moments. I love his calm demeanor. I love his capacity at the line of scrimmage. There's a lot that I've liked with Quinn Ewers over the years. Now, the part that I can't make sense of, and again, I acknowledge my own limitations here with my capacity and what I'm doing with just the film, but he looks hurt a lot. And, will he ever be healthy? Will he ever be, that first part of the 2022 game versus Alabama? I don't know. I don't know if he knows. But that film and other film, there's little snippets of different games. I think it's the next year at Alabama. There's a Michigan game. There are a handful of games where you're like, holy moly, like that is what I want to see. That gets me geeked up with anticipation, with driving the ball down the field. I love that offense. But man, there are some throws where that ball looks like it is fluttering and it is struggling to get there down the field. And again, is he a super tough guy and just fighting through injuries? Maybe. He certainly got the most popular backup, maybe in the history of college football, that he had to kind of deal with. So whatever situation he walks into is probably going to be more chill in the league than what he had to deal with at college. But man, there are some throws, bro, that will make you question whether what I saw earlier is the same dude, because there are throws that look like they just die in the air. And it's not a one-off. There are enough to think, holy shit, is there like a breeze in this dome? But then there are other throws where you're like, hey, that's it. That's massive football. That college football overtime, check versus zero, it's awesome. It's NFL quarterbacking. It really is. If you could tell me that I for sure get a healthy Quinn Ewers, for me, he would immediately jump up to the number 2 spot. And if he was on the same trajectory as we saw early in his career, he'd be right there, 1A, 1B. But that's just not the case, man. I want it to be the case on the film. It's just not the case. So it's hard to be like, again, I can't manufacture what I want to see on film. I just have to talk about what we see on film. We see some really spectacular throws over the course of a really impressive college career. But then we see some really bad picks, man. We see some really bad throws, some throws that hang up there that will frustrate the shit out of you as someone who cares nothing about Texas football. And so how you hold those things. For me, it's hard to forget the great throws, the for sure Sunday anticipation, outside the numbers, multiple throws. I just can't. And I don't see it from anybody else in this draft besides for Cam Ward. I don't see that arm talent from anyone else. And so that's why he is where he is. Next, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart for me is, again, someone who has some really big-time splash plays in a very unique college football offense, a really cool college football offense, but one that I think doesn't have a lot of traditional Sunday consistent throws. He's thrown a lot of access hitches in the RPO world. He's thrown a lot of beautifully schemed up college football, Lane Kiffin masterpieces. He's more athletic than I thought he was. He can certainly run it. He's certainly going to be, he's probably going to be a guy in the league who can run it on short yardage, goal line situations, those types of things that I think are big pluses in the league nowadays. But again, you're rolling the dice a little bit that he can operate a traditional NFL, even a modern NFL drop back passing game. I don't want to say that he can't, but it's just not on his film. It's just not. That offense didn't require that. But he can certainly rip it. He's got some impressive second and third level throws. I don't think it's as consistent as some of the guys who are ahead of him. Certainly not Cam Ward. Certainly not a healthy Quinn Ewers. Even an accurate, polished Shedeur Sanders. But there are some flashes, no doubt about it. From there, Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel, this might come off sideways, but Dillon Gabriel, for me, had some of the most frustrating, I don't want to know if I want to lean full into disappointing, but I guess I will say disappointing college film for me, because I saw him throw at Elite 11. I thought he ripped it in person. He was outstanding in what they call a rail challenge, which is kind of this like cover 2 hole shot, just on a string, consistent. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but he is thick. I think he certainly has, he'd be on the shorter side of a guy in the league playing quarterback, but nowadays, I think it's less important than it was, 25 years ago for sure, as the game has got more horizontal and spread out. But from that ceiling of that kind of rail shot, there just aren't a lot of throws of him pushing it down the field at Oregon. There just aren't. I can think of one in the Ohio State game 1, but beyond that, there just aren't. From there just aren't a lot of Sunday throws in general in his film over the course of the year. And even the stuff that you would think would be like, that I probably got on, like a guy, for instance, Bo Nix last year. Bo Nix, for me, his film was very at the line of scrimmage. Those throws for Dillon Gabriel were not as precise. Bo Nix was throwing handoffs, and I think it helped him as a rookie. He was able to spread the field horizontally with really accurate kind of, whether you classify them as RPOs, SROs, access, numbers, grass, perimeter screens. Dillon just struggled with those compared to a guy who does it at an elite Sunday level. And so I'm not saying Dillon Gabriel isn't athletic. He was a dynamic, excellent college football player, college football quarterback at multiple stops. But if I was turning on the film thinking, I'm going to see the guy I saw at Elite 11 throwing it, and I just didn't. That wasn't on the film that I saw. And so I shared it. I want to see more. I'm not going to go back and look at more currently, but I was a little frustrated. And that Oregon offense is a little unique, and there's maybe the way that they use their quote unquote perimeter guys, speed, quickness, lateral guys don't allow them to maybe do some of the things that I would want to see in a traditional modern NFL offense as far as the drop back. But man, they're just, you want to go in there and see him drive the ball down the field. You want to see him make throws deep outside the numbers. You want to see him throw on time. You want to see him throw backside. It's not there. And so it was frustrating. He's an athletic guy who can use his legs, who I think can make a lot of throws, maybe not that kind of like a final third of the field type throws consistently, but everything else, even the stuff underneath, to me wasn't as precise as I wanted to see. And so that's kind of how again, a guy I wanted to push up, but I just couldn't based on the film. From there, we got Will Howard. Will Howard, a guy who plays a lot of winning football at Ohio State, a big, strong dude, really lean into kind of the quarterback run game. There was one clip where I feel like he was running Q power, every other play at the end of games, certainly leaning into his ability to run it as a college football player. Is he going to be a dynamic runner at the league level? Probably not. Is he going to be able to do kind of the Jackson Dart-ish, what I consider like short yardage, goal line type runs? For sure. For sure be able to use his legs. I don't think he necessarily is as consistent of a passer as you see guys who start in the league for a long time. Doesn't mean he won't develop, but man, he misses some throws down the field where you just shake your head saying, holy shit, we're better than every person. We're better at offensive positions than every person against the defense that we're playing, and we are struggling to throw the ball down the field. And just kind of, trying to make sense of what that looks like. Now, do they have to do that? They win almost every game because maybe they win every game. So maybe they don't have to do it. But man, if you've got a quarterback who's going to go to the league and you've got wide receivers that are for sure going to go to the league, it's one of those things where why aren't we better at some of the things that we see executed poorly on film? And so I just feel like he's one of those guys right now, doesn't throw it consistently enough to be a guy who's going to be taken that high in an NFL draft, or that I want before those guys I've already mentioned. And then lastly, Tyler Shuck, certainly a guy who has some big time throws on his film. He's got a big arm. He can rip it down the field. He's also got some fucking chaos, head scratching throws that are just bizarre on many different levels, almost borderline comic. But it's one of those things where you look at his film and he's got the arm talent. He's got some of the throws that will make a team say, for sure, he for sure deserves an opportunity to play in the league. And it kind of ends there for me with his film. Do I feel like he's going to walk into a situation, compete? No, he might get an opportunity at some point and have developed every other part of his game to be consistent enough to be a guy who plays in the league. But does he have the flash arm talent to hang on a roster and be a guy who at some point gets an opportunity and makes the most of it? Hell yeah, we'll see. So overall, I hopefully done a decent job of explaining kind of my thought process. Again, if you want more detail, hop over to the Quarterback School Patreon community, see each of those videos kind of in totality to be able to make more sense of it and kind of compare back and forth. But overall, once you get past Cam, the arm talent, you're kind of, everybody has like a little disclaimer. Everybody has kind of a little bit of like, well, this is something that would make me nervous. Now, maybe there are a handful of guys that turn out to be elite in this class and they do develop those things. But if you're talking about just the film, and I'm trying my best to talk about just the college film, there are significant concerns for most of these cats. I wish them the best. I think that they certainly have the capacity to develop into it. We'll see how it all shakes out. I'll be fascinated to see, in 5 years, if you're here to come at me sideways, let's do it. Other than that, thank you so much for hanging to the end. I will see you next time. Have a good one.